Let me introduce Parag Bhai Shah. He's an eminent speaker. So, without wasting time, I request Parag Bhai to take over the rest.
Little bit of brief. I'm going to cover the topic on the ethics and values in business. So, I would like to brief about my background a little bit. I worked for an American multinational company for about 19 years. I completed about 19 years in January. So, total experience I have is about 21 years. And I worked in most of my career time in the fields of sales, marketing, services, and product management. So, though I was not involved in most of the operations and background and sourcing and supply chain, etc., but my most recent assignment for last 2 years is project management. So I look after the big contracts which Ingersoll Rand takes for big customers like Reliance, NTPC, etc. So I have got some experience on the back end as well and on the front end as well. So the team comprising of 160 people to a team comprising of about 40 people, and I have worked as an individual contributor for about 8 years. So it's a mix of experience with the different geographies. So I was looking after eastern part of country, western part of country. I was heading all India for quite a long time. So about 7 years I look after the pan India. And technically my background is I am a mechanical engineer basically, and then I did my electrical engineering, then I did my business administration course, and then I did my marketing and sales management. So my initial qualification was, when I started, was 1995, and then about 11 years I studied while working. So that is a little bit of background of myself. And I would like to little bit talk about the situations which I underwent. So I think you all are very experienced people and experts of your field, but little bit of what I went through when different situations were faced and how did I handle those and what really helped me in standing what I am doing for right now. Interestingly, I think when I was heading sales business, and there was a time where there was tremendous pressure on bringing the numbers up, and there were situations which came up on the board. So I was handling the business which comprises of the direct channel as well as the distribution network as well. So there are both the channels, and there are times when you undergo a pressure situation where you need to meet the numbers on a monthly basis. So typically an American company works in a way that you have to meet the numbers by month, by quarter, and by the year. So there is a lot of pressure when you are put into a new job. And when I was handling a particular zone of Gujarat, and there was a lot of stress on achieve the targets, there was a situation one evening which came to me that I was sitting in my office and I got those times I'm talking about 90s, late 90s. So I got a fax from Mumbai that we need certain amount of components, etc. And the quantities were very large. So it was, just to give you a perspective, I think it was 20% of my monthly target. So that was the requirement. And the gentleman called on the landline that point of time, and it was very lucrative offer. So if I would have taken that point of time, it could have easily made me look very nice in front of the management and the world. So I was a little bit confused that why all of a sudden somebody wants this much amount of components, why such a surge in the demand, where the machines would be installed, why this many parts are required. So the things came to my mind that should I go into details of what this inquiry is all about. And that point of time, I think what I did is, instead of just jumping on to providing a quotation and closing the deal, I think I little bit deliberated about what should I do next. And then I started figuring out where the equipment is installed, who is the customer, who is the end user. And eventually I came to know about the organization by various sources on the next day, that I think this company is taking the components from India and they do export to Singapore and they sell into that market and using Ingersoll Rand's, the company's regular logo. So that's point of time I had to make a choice that should I indulge into this business and look good in front of the world, because nobody knew about it. So where it is coming from, how it is going to be dealt, nobody knew about it. So I slept over it a night, and in the evening I was feeling a little bit uncomfortable that I think something which is not correct, I am going to do. And that's point of time where I decided to stop myself, and I regretted the inquiry, and I communicated that I think this is not what we are going to get into because it is unethical. It seemed to me. Now the first point of alert was that when the doubt comes to mind, should I think that is the first alert where you should not. Mostly when you do the right things, I think those questions don't come to your mind. If somebody wants to, you give a good presentation, you talk good about your product, and you explain the ROI, and that point of time a customer is convinced about something buying from you, that point of time you don't ask yourself, should I do this business or not? But when something which is not correct comes to your way, and then in heart of heart you come to know, should I? And I think that is a point where you need to stop and think. I'm not saying every proposal would be bad. I don't think that every requirement which comes up, there may be innovation, there may be a new business model, there may be many other requirements which can come up. Not necessarily every should I is a bad thing, but I think that is a point where we need to stop, we need to think, we need to evaluate, we need to analyze, and then move forward. So I think the first point of deflection, and just imagine if in a spur of a moment, if that decision would have been taken, I think nobody would have known about it probably. But then I think in my 20 years career today, it is about 15 years old story, but then I remember so distinctly, and I am feeling very proud about myself. I think eventually that month number or that quarter or that performance would have been forgotten. But this incident and the self-esteem and the self-respect for yourself, I think that is not forgettable. So I think there is a point where you don't need to deflect and ask, should I? There is one more. I think I would like to go more on the examples rather than going into theoretical part. So I worked for a company for about 20 years, I said before. And there was a concept that for about 10 years in a particular vertical market segment, we wanted to penetrate our business. And we were not really very successful. So the people handling that business, that part of vertical, that part of geography, have always believed that you need a third-party agent, you need a distributor, you need a dealer, you need an intermediate person to get inroads to that business model or vertical segment. I think it is about last 4 or 5 years before I was given this portfolio, and then I was focusing on that. The first thing I realized that to eliminate that intermediate person, because I did not find the real need of it. It was a concept, or it is a perception which was being created that you can't get inroads without having a third party. So you understand the meaning of not every third party is bad, not every, because your distributors, your dealer network, your extended arms, they represent you where you are not able to reach. So I'm not saying all the third party or the dealer agreement or distribution agreements are bad. There are places where you need to take a decision, but not everywhere. So I basically challenge the concept that should we need an intermediate person to represent ourselves in this vertical segment or not. So there was the confusion. So at that point of time we said, let's stop and let's take the whole thing in a new perspective. So let's stop here and make an attempt to go direct with that customer or that vertical. So it took us right from April to September, about 9 months period to get entry, to meet. We were slogging. I mean, my team, myself, we are sitting for 2 hours to meet someone. We were not being entertained well. We were asked a lot of questions which are not very comfortable questions. And gradually, slowly, we consistently pursued the opportunity. And then I think it was a matter of time that you won't believe it. Out of our 100% business, I think about 20% business came from this particular vertical in span of 2 years' time. So I think there are times when things look easier, but I think we need to decide that if it is something more difficult or it is a longer route, but then sometimes we need to take that call that, okay, I think easier win is not going to be always the best win. And probably the self-confidence which has gone up, not only as an individual for me, but entire team and organization perspective, that I think by doing the right stuff, by doing the right thing, I think we are able to penetrate the markets and then change the whole paradigm of the organization and in terms of the cultural shift in the organization, that we don't need to depend on someone always to get inroads into something. And it is question of persistence, it is question of an effort, it is question of a dedication. So there are situations where I think, I would say it's a little bit hard word, corruption, but then I think what it takes away from you. I mean, someone gets indulged into that path. It is very sad to see, but world is mix of all the people. So when you get into that sea of corruption, I think what you damage is your character, the culture, the conviction, the capabilities, because you are doubting your own capabilities, that whether I am able to do it or not, or this is the better way to do it or not. So I think it is very important and essential that doing good stuff is everybody wants. Being successful, everybody wants. But I think doing the right thing and being the right person, I think it is more important than getting the achievement. So when I talk to my kids and to my team, I most of the time speak about that. I think it is very important for someone to be successful. So everyone tries to grow in life. So financially, socially, emotionally, mentally. But I think it is more important that instead of taking away any path for being successful, it is more important that you become a good person. So I think success is going to be well forgotten. I think you can't consume the money you earn throughout your life. But I think the goodwill, the credit, the confidence, the self-esteem which you earn, I think it is going to be forever with you. So I would say there are situations where come in life where you need to take a hard call. You need to decide what you want to do next. And probably there are times where you are compelled to in a situation where you don't find an alternate way. Then that point of time probably you need to take a step back or look for a change in yourself or change in the profile or change in the business or profession which you are working on. So these are the few things which I wanted to share with you on ethical business or value systems, which are, I think, the core. I'll give you a little bit of, on an emotional side, I would say, my background is a mechanical engineer, and the team which I handle were from a very premium institutes. The people have done the MBAs from IIM, etc., and they were reporting to me. So, and very well experienced people with 20, 25 years, 30 years of experience. So, that point of time, there are few things which they came up with the board, on the board, were significantly more in terms of the subject matter expertise, in terms of the administrative knowledge, in terms of the financial knowledge. I think they were significantly better than I am. The only differentiating factor or adding value was that if as a leader, if you are able to drive the right behaviors, if you show the team, because the young generation comes up, and I think if they are not guided properly, I think they can lose their way easily. And one of the things very strongly which I try to imbibe in the teams is, I think they're doing the things in a right manner. And that probably is adding the value to not individual as in me, to the team as well as to the organization. And I think the perception created for the organization, I think it is long-lived. There are times where we need to take a hard call. I'll give you an example that I was sitting with a very large customer in Mumbai, and there was a situation where we were evaluating an option and proposal, a big contract for about 4 crores or so. And therein, technically, I felt that I think our proposal is not so suitable and the competition proposal is more suitable. And then customer asked a question in the evening that, what do you think? What should we do technically? And forget about your organization, but tell as a consultant that what do you think is the right proposal to do? And that's point of time where probably I had to say, no, I think what you are saying is right. The better proposal is to go with the competition. And that earned us so much of goodwill that after 2 years, I think we have taken most of the business from that customer. So because they realize that if we are honest about what our feedback is, and if we are clear about what we are communicating, what we are believing, and we are communicating to customer, I think it is going to add value to you. So there are a few examples which I wanted to share that I think it looks simple when I talk in the retrospect, but when it is in prospect, I think it looks very difficult to take the call because you are living up something and you are trying to take the harder path on you. So, but in a longer run, in my opinion, I think it really pays off. So that's all from my side. If any other questions. All right. Thank you very much.